excited to be joining you again for these exciting conversations. And we must apologize tonight for our late start. We did have some technical difficulties in studio, but we are happy that you've stayed and we're welcoming you again to our conversation.
All right, great. So pull up a chair tonight, snuggle up with your huzzy or your wifey, and we want to get started tonight. We want to encourage you also to start a watch party on Facebook if you can. Don't know much about the watch party as you, but if you can start a watch party tonight, just connect with a friend, share this video so that we have a very exciting conversation for you tonight.
Yes, we
So,
do.
let's get right into our conversation tonight. For the past few weeks, we have been talking about intentional loving. And because we have been talking about intentional loving, we want to be very intentional about the things we are sharing with you tonight.
Yes.
And so we want to continue the conversation that we started on sexless marriages and what can we do
to fix it?
to fix it.
Yeah.
What can we do to fix it? It is proven in Ontario, in fact in Canada, that a significant amount of couples, I think it is 37% of people say that they either have a sexless marriage or very little sex is actually happening in their marriage. And we want to talk about that. We want to talk about the fact that there are so many couples that are impacted in that area in their relationship. And we are not by any means the expert on this issue.
No, we're not.
We are not purporting to be experts. We are simply hoping that we can learn together
Yes.
as we share some ideas. We want to be able to share some of our own experiences and some of what we have learned over time. And hopefully it can be of value to you. But before we get into our conversation, here's where we want to go tonight. My wife and I, we have the opportunity, the privilege, in fact, of pastoring a great congregation here in Kitchener, Ontario, called Kingdom Community International. And we have an exciting event that is coming up. You want to talk about it?
Yes, yes. We have a concert that's coming up on the 20th of April, Saturday the 20th of April, and the 21st of April, Sunday evening. We are going to be having an awesome, awesome gospel singer with us, an international artist.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Eddie James. And
There you
I
go.
know a lot of you know him. And if you don't, this is an opportunity you have that you can come to get to know him and listen to his music and learn about this great man of God. He's an awesome singer. He has an awesome band and group of worshipers and singers and dancers, and they're all going to be coming to be with us on the 20th and the 21st of April, Saturday and Sunday evening from 7 p.m.
Awesome.
nightly.
Awesome. And
Please
that's
plan
the
to be
Easter
there.
weekend. Yes,
Yes.
that's the Easter weekend. Now, why are we sharing that with you? Because we have some tickets that we want to give away tonight. We have 2 tickets for you, but we're going to tell you how you can win these 2 free tickets for the concert. They're free. The concert is not free, but we have 2 tickets we want to give away tonight to an individual who will answer our question. So before we get into our conversation, we are going to give you the question, and then before we conclude, if you can give us the answer, you're going to win yourself 2 tickets to this awesome gospel concert. On the 20th, it is He is Alive. He is Alive. And on the 21st, it is Breakthrough. 2 powerful nights. 2 powerful nights with Eddie James from the United States of America. So tonight we want to talk about sexless marriages and what we can do to fix it. Last week we heard from lots of you about the importance of sex in the relationship. And some people believe that it's necessary, that sex is necessary
Yes,
for a happy marriage. Some believe that it is not. We heard from some others who believe that sex is not as important. What we do believe, however, that while sex is an important part of the relationship, it must not be the principal element of satisfaction in the relationship. Sex is important, but it should not be the principal element of satisfaction in the relationship. We believe that marriage is more than just sex.
Absolutely.
Marriage is about companionship.
Emotional
It's about
support,
Yep,
intimacy,
absolutely.
communication,
Communication,
respect, and that's big for the men, we know.
respect.
Fun, and many more things that we can do together to make our marriage happy and
Yes,
lasting.
absolutely. So fun is important,
Absolutely.
and you can have fun and not necessarily be, have it just be about sex,
Yeah.
right? And so we recommend strongly that you be intentional in developing those are elements in the relationship, like developing the fun aspect of your relationship, developing the communication aspect of your relationship, all the other things, all the
Intimacy,
intimacy in the
respect.
relationship. Because if sex is the most important thing in the relationship, that relationship is not going to survive. That relationship is not going to survive. So what we recommend also is that you go back to the love language that we talk about and work on developing the love language. That would be a very important step in cultivating the relationship. So here's the question for you: if you desire to win two of these tickets to the Eddie James concert, here's the question for you. Are you ready? Here's the question. The question is: list for us, list for us the 5 love languages that we discussed over the past few weeks. List the 5 love languages that we discussed. If you can list it on in the comments section here of the conversation tonight, just list the 5 love language in the comments, and once you've gotten them right, you're going to win yourself two tickets to this concert, and we're going to let you know how you can uplift these tickets. All right, so list for us the 5 love languages. And so, but if there is no sex in the relationship, if there's no sex in the marriage, or if there's little sex in the relationship, and one party is unhappy, that must not be ignored.
No, no, it's while it's not the most important thing, it's
Yes,
very important.
very
And
important.
so while we need to add the other aspects of sharing time and spending time and
Mhm.
doing fun things, it's important. So it cannot be ignored.
Yes. But what can we do to fix that? What can we do to fix if there is a breakdown in the relationship and one party is not happy about the amount of sex that's happening in the relationship? What are some of the things you think we can do
Well, first of all,
to
we
fix
can
that?
talk about it.
Talk about it.
Yes. A healthy confrontation is always a good thing for any relationship.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter what area of the relationship you're dealing with or what it is you're discussing.
Yeah.
A healthy conversation is always important in
Hmm.
helping to fix or mend anything in a relationship. And so that would be the first thing that is
That you would
recommended.
recommend.
Yeah, that
Yes.
you have a confrontation, have a talk about it, a healthy confrontation, a healthy conversation
Yes.
about the
What's happening in the sex
importance,
life?
yeah,
Yes.
importance of sex in the relationship for whichever part,
Yeah.
whichever partner in the relationship.
We would recommend also that when you talk about it, that you talk to your spouse about it. It's not appropriate to discuss what's happening in your sex life with someone outside of the marital relationship, except, of course,
Maybe a
there
counselor.
is a counselor and there must be an agreement. There has to be an agreement. If you're going to discuss your sex life with a counselor, there must be an agreement with your spouse
To,
that I am going to be sharing with this counselor what's happening so that we can both get the help we desire. It's not appropriate for one person to take it upon themselves to just divulge to a counselor,
yeah,
and the other
that's
person
correct.
in the relationship is not aware or in agreement
Yeah,
that
that's
a
correct.
third party has been brought in. So when we talk also about discussing it with your spouse, we are also reminding you of the importance of ensuring that you are not making your marriage vulnerable by discussing, the lack of sex with someone of the opposite sex,
Oh yeah.
regardless of how close that friend is. Don't discuss those private things with, if you're not getting enough sex in the marriage, as a man, don't discuss that with a female friend.
Yes.
If you are a female, don't discuss that with a male friend. All right, very, very, very dangerous. So take a close look also at what's happening in the emotional state of the marriage,
That may
because
be contributing to
yes,
the lack of sex or
yes, because sometimes the issue of the fact
reduced
that
frequency.
the reduced frequency is really an indication that the relationship, the intimacy in the relationship, the emotional state of the relationship is really suffering. And I think that's important to really address, because if we're not talking about the emotional things, if we're not dealing with the underlying emotional issues, then sex really is not going to be as fulfilling and satisfying in the way it is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So take a look at what's happening in the emotional aspect of the relationship outside of the sex. Um, Once the cause is identified, also, we want to suggest that the next step you should do is pray about it.
Yeah.
We believe that prayer is important. We sometimes don't realize that God is also interested in what happens in our sex life.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
After all, he made it. He
He made
created
it.
it. Yes.
Absolutely.
So he's
So
definitely
He is
interested
interested.
in
So
us
God
as
is
well.
interested in what's happening in our sex life, and it's important not to make the assumption that, oh, well, God is not interested. We don't need to pray about this. Pray about what's happening in your sex life. Pray about, maybe there may be a medical issue, a health issue that's
Yep.
impacting on the sexual libido or the frequency of the sex. Pray
Or
about
like
those
someone
things.
said, the sexual drive, the
Sex
sexual
drive.
appetite. When we
Yes.
say libido, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So
yeah.
pray about it as well.
But you know, there's also stages of life, especially for a woman. You know, we know that there are changes in the bodies, both for male and female in the relationship. But especially for women, when you go through menopause, there are lots of changes that take place that sometimes impact on
Hmm.
how how they continue to enjoy their sex life
Yes.
post um, menopause. So,
Postmenopause.
as
Hmm.
well as if a woman has gotten an hysterectomy, there are also challenges there,
Yes.
depending on if it was done before um, menopause or after.
Hmm.
There are challenges. So, those are some things as well that can
To
contribute
consider.
to, yes, to
Hmm.
difficulties in the sexual relationship
Great.
and sexual drive.
Indeed. The other thing we want to suggest is, if you are having challenges in terms of frequency of the sex, and your sexual experience is frustrating, and one person is dissatisfied,
Mhm.
it's important also to help to create space and time to be able to transition from the other roles that we play in life
Mhm.
to the role of being a lover. And so that's important, particularly when you have maybe both persons in the relationship that may be um, working outside of the home.
Mhm.
There are times when it's necessary to be able to create the space and the time and the opportunity for that person, or for both persons rather,
I
to be able
think
to transition from those other roles.
I
So
think the
what do
word
you
you're
do?
looking for is intentional.
Intentional, yes.
Yes.
Being intentional in creating that space, which is assisting with things around the house, preparing dinner, getting the kids ready, the things that we can do to ensure that we are creating that time and creating that space that's allowing your spouse to really engage
Yeah.
in the sexual experience. Um, it's I believe it has to be something that is planned appropriately.
Yes.
Sometimes people say, well, we shouldn't be planning for it. Well, if you don't plan for it, there are a number of things that will obviously take precedence, and that will be pushed lower down in terms of the order of priority. So help to create a space
Mhm.
for the person to transition from the other roles, from
Into
being
the
a
role,
mom into being a lover,
or
from
father,
being the
husband,
father,
worker,
worker,
yeah,
breadwinner.
breadwinner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I have a question for you, Bishop,
Yes.
because some of you may know we had a women's retreat this weekend in Niagara Falls, and I came back and I am beginning to wonder if you had intentionally set up to make sure that my coming back was warm and welcoming, and maybe you were setting up the place for bringing out the
For a
lover in
reunion.
me. Yes, because I came back and I was pleasantly surprised that, the house was changed around a little bit, the living room, and it did warm my heart, I must say. And I responded. I gave Bishop a big hug and a kiss, and I think he was very intentional.
Oh yeah.
I guess he's not just talking about this, but he's living it, you
Well,
know?
yeah.
So
If we are going to make
it
things
worked,
happen,
Bishop.
well,
It
thank you.
worked well.
Thank you. See, well, we are being intentional in practicing the things we are sharing with you as well. So do that. Sometimes, guys would complain that, when they want to have sex, she's always tired, whatever. Well, that's partly your responsibility also, sir, to ensure that you are creating the
Yes.
opportunity for her to be rested enough so that
Mhm.
the sexual experience can be shared. It's not going to happen if you don't plan for it. All right. The other thing we want to suggest is to help in terms of this sexual issue is to gather information and inspiration
Yeah.
from trusted sources. Gather information and inspiration from trusted sources. When we talk about inspiration, um, people get their inspiration from all kinds of sources. We're not talking about some of those twisted places that some people go to be inspired,
Yeah.
right? As kingdom people, we don't believe that we must seek to be inspired sexually by having inspiration from things that are of a very base nature or of a nature that is not consistent with scripture.
Mhm.
We believe that it's important for us to keep the marriage and the relationship alive so that we are attracted to each other
Yes.
and not necessarily needing to have
External.
inspirational external stimulation and things to inspire you. But when we talk about inspiration, we are talking here about being inspired by others who have had challenges but they have overcome them,
Mhm.
being inspired by people who are able to let you know what's happening, in their own lives and in their own relationships.
Mhm.
Um, Also, gather information, read as much as you can, um, get information. I think it's important to make yourself available to get the necessary information to ensure that you are. What are some of the sources, though, you think, in terms of information gathering, that where we can get information from? I know conferences. You were at one this past weekend.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Conferences, sometimes talking with trusted friends,
Yep.
maybe other women, other wives, that are, who have maybe they're older, a older
Yes.
couple, you can learn from them.
Hmm.
They definitely have valuable information that they can share, and
Yes.
most times they're willing to share because, having gone through those testings or periods of trials themselves and
Hmm.
learn from them, they're willing to share and encourage other younger couples too.
Yes.
So definitely talking to, other couples,
Older.
older couples as
Yes.
well, trusted friends, reading, like we said earlier, reading. And yes, there are also like videos out there, relationship experts. You can find healthy information. You can find
Helpful,
ways to,
useful. Yes.
yes, to be informed about the challenges and the things you need to improve your relationship
Hmm.
by through many sources. So definitely we'd encourage you to do whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes. If it means going to conferences as well, marriage conferences, there are many things you can do. If if you need to check out a sex therapist, whatever is needed, to help to improve the that aspect of the relationship,
Yeah.
the sexual aspect of the relationship.
Great. Great. We want to suggest also that it's important to get in touch with your body.
Absolutely.
Um, Very often, a person's sexual libido and sex drive is impacted by what's happening
In their
in their
bodies.
body.
Yes.
Um, Reduced energy, reduced libido, all of that. If they're stressed out,
Mm-hmm.
if there's a lot of tension, if there are health challenges also.
Yeah.
So starting an exercise program, getting up, exercising, going to the gym, walking a few
Yep.
miles every day, trying to jog around the block. Get in touch with your body.
Change of diet
Yes, yeah.
too.
The body speaks to us, and I think the body tells us when it's not feeling well. The body
Yeah.
tells us when something is not right,
Yeah.
and sometimes we tend to ignore that. I think if we can really get in touch with what's happening in our physical, in terms of not just the whole issue of feeling,
Mm-hmm.
but also ensuring that we are intentional uh, about how we are taking care of the body, even before there are issues of illness or
Mm-hmm.
sickness or feelings
Yes.
or whatever.
Yes.
that we are intentional. You talked about diet. You talked about the
Hmm.
importance of the right diet
Yes.
and balancing the right diet also with exercise and
Yeah.
rest and all of
Getting
the things that's
seven
important.
to 8 hours of
Yes.
sleep per night. Yes, it's
Hmm.
important. But you said also being intentional in being in touch with your body in terms of also, paying attention to what the body is saying to you.
Hmm.
Like you said, the body speaks to us. The body
Yes.
would indicate a lot of times if there's something going on that is not wholesome,
Yes.
and the body begins to react and
Hmm.
send signals and signs. So we've got to be intentional in terms of being in touch with those signals that our bodies
Yes.
are sending to us so that we can,
Hmm.
know what's happening and what's needed to
And how
get
to
things
respond.
fixed, how to
Yes.
respond, how to resolve whatever challenges we may be going through physically.
Yes. Yes. All right. So that's where we want to take this conversation tonight. Those are important things. Like we said, also, it's not just there's a part that you must play. There's a part also that um, you must play with respect to the actions that you take. And also, there's a part that we believe that God must help us with
Yes.
because God is interested in um, both our holiness as well as our wholeness
Mm-hmm.
and our happiness. We give you an opportunity tonight to respond to the question that we ask. I'm checking to see if anyone responded. If you can give me the five love language, you're going to. Okay. Well, there you go.